sectors. So if you are a controlling officer of the public service, it means that you work with human resource, you work with these people, and if there's a society which regulates those people, then there should be this linkage.
On his part, President of the Human Resource Society of Malawi, Gift Nyambalo, said the visits to the Chief Secretary to Government and the Minister of Labour are critical for the advancement of improved human resource management, as well as lobbying for the Human Resource Management Bill.
Yeah, so the meetings have been very fruitful. The critical issue has been about the Human Resource Management Bill, which is at an advanced stage. As we speak, stakeholder engagements were already done, and the bill is at the drafting level at the Ministry of Justice. Once the draft bill is out, we need the various stakeholders to help us in pushing the bill into coming a law. And such kind of offices includes the Minister of Labour as well as the Secretary to the President and Cabinet.
The Human Resource Society of Malawi was established in 2018 with the aim of advancing human resource excellence in Malawi among trained human resource professionals. Mwaim Tumodzi, MBC.
Following President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika's order that schools and workplaces, whether public or private, should provide and maintain waste disposal facilities within and surrounding premises, MBC checked some of the said places in Blantyre if they have complied with the order. Mercy Zamawa has filed this report.
The President Executive Order is meant to promote hygiene and sanitation in both public and private spaces like markets, bus depots, car parks, recreational facilities, and venues for public gatherings. Walking around Blantyre, it was observed that the order has further enhanced cleanliness within the city. A visit to marketplaces and bus depots shows that most places are smart and free from litter. Chairperson for Blantyre Market, Black Binya, says the executive order has given them the resolve to ensure that cleanliness is maintained in the market at all times.
I strongly agree with the President's executive order on sanitation, and here at Blantyre Market, cleanliness is really improving, and we're actively working hard to promote hygiene and cleanliness.
When the
direct order was issued that bins should be placed in places like stages, bus depots and churches, people were encouraged to be responsible and to make sure the bins are actually being used. When we eat food while walking, we should throw the waste into those bins to prevent diseases like cholera, since it has started spreading. It is therefore important for us to have such bins and to take care of them. There should also be bins that can be properly covered. The President has done a very good thing.
However, a visit to most depots revealed that disposal facilities are lacking for people to dispose their waste. It seems people have embraced the executive order, but it would be more ideal if disposal facilities are available and that people are disposing their waste in them. The order comes amidst concerns over poor sanitation and hygiene practices. Meanwhile, a report by the Ministry of Health says that as of February 27 this year, 103 people were tested positive for cholera, including 8 who were symptomatic, and 2 of them died. Mercy Zamawa, MBC News, Blantyre.
Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navija, says the government of Malawi values its partnership with Scotland, which has now reached 20 years. Navija made the remarks in Edinburgh, Scotland, during a meeting with Scottish non-governmental organisations. During the meeting, which was organised by Scotland-Malawi Partnership, the non-governmental organisations welcomed Malawi's decision to introduce free secondary education and abolishing examination fees, describing it as a major step towards empowering young people and improving access to education. More in this report.
Mami Martin Fund representative Moira Darnold said the fund, which operates in Malawi's northern region, supports girls' education in schools under the CCAP Synod of Livingstonia, the Catholic Diocese, and at Mchengotua Community Day Secondary School in Mzuzu. She said the organization is currently supporting 163 students and noted that the removal of the two course components would allow the institution to focus its resources on providing boarding fees and transport for rural students from poor backgrounds. Emma Wood of Staker Skills said empowering Malawian women includes ensuring access to education and information that can improve their social and economic standing. She added that such empowerment also involves challenging certain cultural norms that still exist and hinder women's development. Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navicha, said Malawi regards Scotland as one of its most dependable friends in the world. She further said over the years, Malawi and Scotland have supported each other through strong people-to-people ties, and she appreciated Scotland's contributions to Malawi's social development agenda. A Malawian based in Scotland, Getty Kawazi, who runs an NGO that supports widows, said families that have lost their breadwinners stand to benefit from the new access to education. She said the policy would make a significant difference to young women and widows. Malawi Human Rights Commissioner Boniface Massa contributed to the discussions through a letter read by Dr. Yona Matemba, highlighting the plight of people with albinism. Eric Sambisa, a human rights fellow at the University of Dundee, called for a more inclusive approach to human rights in the country. Other Scottish organizations also made presentations during the session, including the Turing Trust, which said it has shipped more than 5,000 recycled computers to Malawi for use in educational institutions. The University of Strathclyde highlighted its work documenting Malawian women for publication on Wikipedia, while the University of Stirling outlined its ongoing road safety project in Malawi. The meeting underscored Scotland's continued support for Malawi's social and educational development agenda. Hilda Ngumano, MBC, Blantyre.
Government through Mzuzu City Council has distributed relief items to 122 households affected by heavy downfall. Disaster Risk Management Desk Officer for Mzuzu City Council, MacDonald Gondwe, emphasized that government will make sure that all households in Mzuzu affected by the heavy downfall receive relief. Chikondi Pompi has more in this report, being read by Blessings Gondwe.
To support families affected by heavy rains in Mzuzu, government through Mzuzu City Council has started distributing relief items to the affected households, aiding them to recover from the disaster. Speaking during the distribution of relief items, Disaster Risk Management Desk Officer for Mzuzu City Council, MacDonald Gondwe, urged Mzuzu residents to follow preventive measures to mitigate disasters and risks.
Following that disaster, we reported to government through Dodima, and Dodima has come forth with this support so that perhaps our people can be relieved. This is just a relief, more of a starter pack on what they had lost. We know as government we cannot manage to put back everything whatsoever they had lost during that scenario.
One of the beneficiaries, Innocent Salanda, has commended government for the timely support.
The government has honored us a lot. This is to say this is a healing and a doing government with the leadership that we have under our councillor and the council.
The relief items include maize, beans, salt, and other household items.
The Malawi Defence Force MDF has described steel bridges as crucial in expediting development activities and facilitating disaster response. Commanding Officer for Engineers Battalion of the MDF, Lieutenant Colonel Desmond Cielo, made the remarks when he commissioned a 4-day training for construction players from the Ministry of Transport and Public Works and the Roads Authority in Neno District. Government contracted the Engineers Battalion to construct a crawl bridge over the Shire River to speed up activities for construction of Mbatamanga hydro plant, which is financed by the World Bank.
For a country that is developing like Malawi, steel bridges are very, very important because They are the ones that are used even in places which are far-flung and hard to reach. So we use these bridges for humanitarian purposes and for development purposes. Like the bridge that we are building now at Patamanga is for development purpose, in as much as it will also help on humanitarian issues, but it's for development purpose. As you may know, there is a dam that is being built there to enable hydro power station that will be built in the near future. So they are very important, such that they make us connect people in remote areas. And
a representative from the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, Edwin Matanga, disclosed to Embassy that plans are underway to redesign the country's road network to withstand climatic shocks, among other threats.
Beginning some 5 years ago, the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, as government, through the Roads Authority, we have embarked on a project where we are replacing all timber as well as barrier bridges, so that the barrier bridges should be solely for emergencies. So there is a program. It cannot be fixed over a few years, but the program is ongoing.
You're watching MBC News and you are with me, Evalis Chingambe. A reminder of our top stories. Government reiterates commitment towards improving human resource management in both public and private sectors. Parliament assures to help Malawi Broadcasting Corporation achieve its goals and ambitions. And investors begin to commit their capital into the Cassia rutile and graphite mining project in Lilongwe. Welcome back. The Media, Communication and Information Committee of Parliament has assured the Malawi Broadcasting Corporation Embassy that it will help the corporation achieve its goals and ambitions. Chairperson of the committee, Kingwell Lipoka, said this in Lilongwe after management of Embassy met the committee to discuss the corporation's 2026-2027 budgetary allocation. He described the budget which Embassy presented as ambitious and befitting national expectations. From Lilongwe, Patrick Dambola reports.
Her presentation of MPC's 2026-2027 budget to the Media, Communication and Information Committee of Parliament, Acting Financial Controller Linda Saka said the corporation has projected revenue of 9.2 billion kwacha, while government subvention stands at 8.9 billion kwacha, which brings the total budget to 18.18 billion kwacha, with expenditure being pegged at 18.15 billion kwacha. Among the major activities of the 2026-2027 financial year, MPC plans to replace 7 pool vehicles, which would lower recurrent transport expenditure currently at 1.15 billion kwacha. The corporation also plans to finish the modernization of its studios, which would require 3.2 billion kwacha, as compared to the 500 million kwacha that has been allocated for the purpose, according to Saga. Speaking in an interview later, Acting Director General of MPC, Moses Chioni, said the broadcaster is using archaic equipment, which, if modernized, would help to bring more revenue to the institution, as it would compete on an equal footing with other players.
We're looking at additional resources to ensure that we replace our aging infrastructure. We have got aging and aging transmission and studio infrastructure that we would want to replace. So we have embarked on a modernization project. So we feel that with that modernization project, we'll be able to go on another level as MPC in terms of how we deliver our services to the public.
Chairperson of the Media, Communication and Information Committee of Parliament, Kingwell Lipoka, applauded MPC for presenting an ambitious budget, which he said will help MPC to achieve great things for Malawi.
That is what we can assure them, especially that they seem to be a new MBC that they want to achieve great, and also they have got their own ambition. So we think together with them, we can help them. And especially, the president of this nation, Professor Peter Mutharika, is having people at heart. And MBC is one of the two it makes life better for the people. You are entertained, and also because you get informed with the MBC, it is the mandate of this nation and also our interests as parliamentarians to help them to achieve their goal. So we will do that.
Earlier on, MPC highlighted some of the key achievements of the 2025 financial year, among them buying an outside broadcasting van, reducing expenditure by 32%, and acquiring 11 HD cameras. Parliament is currently scrutinizing individual budgetary allocations to government ministries, departments and agents. Patrick Dambula, MPC News, Lilongwe.
The Malawi Police Service says the country is making significant strides in the fight against gender-based violence, as more victims, including men, are finding the courage to report cases of violence to victim support units. Commissioner of Police responsible for the Eastern Region, Jane Mandala, said this in Mangochi when she presided over the official opening of a 3-day orientation workshop for victim support unit officers drawn from various police establishments in the country. Francis Banda has compiled a report being read by Owen Mavula.
For many years, society norms and stigma silenced women and male survivors of gender-based violence, forcing them to suffer in silence. However, there is a positive shift now, as most survivors of gender-based violence are beginning to break the silence. According to Commissioner of Police responsible for the Eastern Region, Jane Mandala, the increase reflects growing awareness conducted by the law enforcers and other stakeholders at community level. Speaking when she officially opened the 3-day orientation for Victim Support Unit police officers, Commissioner Mandala reminded the officers to continue upholding high standards of professionalism when discharging their duties, saying this will encourage more people to report gender-based violence.
We are really happy that our officers will be equipped with knowledge and skills pertaining gender-based violence. According to our culture, people used to say that men don't cry, and this has contributed to the rise of suicide cases in our nation. But now, since the officers will be equipped with the necessary skills, they will know that even men too cry, and they have to voice out whenever they have problems pertaining to gender-based violence.
One of the participants from Kasungu Police Station Victim Support Unit, Rose Jairosi, said the orientation has come at the right time. She said the training will help strengthen their capacity on best approach when handling issues of gender-based violence. The 3-day orientation workshop has drawn together representatives of Police Victim Support Unit offices from across the country with support from the European Union.
The Blantyre Magistrates Court has given 30 days to parties involved in a case in which a Netherlands national, Wim Axter, is answering charges of sexually abusing young boys to make their written submissions before the court can decide whether the accused has a case to answer or not. Chief Resident Magistrate Paul Georgia told the court that he would deliver his ruling on 13th April this year. State Prosecutor Victor Jerry and lawyer for the accused, Michael Gobashibeta, questioned the state's final witness, Simeon Kamisa, who is one of the senior investigators, about what they discovered during their investigations into the matter back in 2020.
No, I think on the part of the prosecution, we are happy. We have finished by reading our witnesses. The one who we just finished was the last witness. If I'm not mistaken, that was the 6th, if not 7th witness. But in terms of the cross-examination, I don't think there's anything on our part to worry about. The witness was very firm in terms of his testimony, and I think he was a solid witness. For now, as the court has indicated, the next step is for the parties to file submissions On the part of the state, our argument would be that we've made out a case sufficient enough for the accused to be found with a case to answer. I think on the part of the defense, they'll be saying there's no case to answer, but as the court has indicated, the ruling will be made on the 13th of April as to whether the accused has a case to answer or not.
And now in business, the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA has adjusted upward retail price for liquefied petroleum gas LPG used for cooking from 3,740 kwacha per kg to 4,475 kwacha per kg. MERA's Consumer Affairs and Public Relations Manager, Fitina Konje, told Embassy that the increase will encourage traders to import more gas to meet the country's growing demand. Some players in the industry have since hailed the decision, saying it will ensure continued availability of the product on the market. Tamvani has filed this report.
Konje has told MBC that at the old price, importers were finding it difficult to bring in gas for cooking as the landing cost was higher as compared to the retail price, hence the price adjustment.
This price adjustment is necessary to allow importers to continue to bring this product into the country. The pricing committee met on 25 February, and it was noted that prices on the international market, especially prices of liquefied petroleum gas, had been increasing since the last price review, and therefore it was necessary to adjust these prices so that the importation of gas can be sustained and consumers can continue to find gas on the market.
Commenting on the development, one of the directors at Gasman Refilling Station in Limbe, Eugene Wheeler, said the increase was long overdue. He further said despite the increase, gas remains a cheaper and healthier source of energy for cooking compared to charcoal.
LPG is much cheaper than charcoal. Currently, even with the price increase, charcoal is more expensive than LPG. I mean, a 6 kg can be used for 40 hours, continuous burning. So, and it's faster, it's much cleaner. So I doubt that people will be going back to charcoal. It is very much affordable, very much affordable. So with the benefits, the health benefits, the economic benefits, I don't think people will return to using charcoal.
While welcoming the new price, one of the gas users, Katrina Mpumira, who stays at Kama in Machinjiri, said she is hopeful that the increase in gas price will come with a stable supply of the commodity on the market.
I'm happy with it. It didn't affect us. Yeah, because gas is cheap than using charcoal. Yeah, and it's quick. Also than even using electricity. We shouldn't have a shortage of gas. Yes, because if you have a shortage of gas, then we'll go back. We'll think, oh, it's better to be using charcoal because charcoal is everywhere. Yeah, so I think we should be having gas.
Meanwhile, MERA says the conflict in the Middle East has not impacted on the landing cost of petroleum products in the country yet, but they are closely monitoring the situation. Temba Mwale, MBC News, Blantyre.
Investors have begun committing their capital into the Kasia rutile and graphite mining project in Nilongwe, marking a significant milestone for the development of the mine. Country Manager for Sovereign Services Limited, Maxwell Gazago, confirmed to Embassy that one of the notable investors is Rio Tinto, a global mining giant operating in more than 35 countries. Austin Fugola reports.
Kazako told MPC that Rio Tinto is currently a major shareholder of Sovereign Services, investing over 18% in the Kasia rutile graphite mining project.
At least with Rio, at least we are very much confident because they already did their investment and they have been providing the technical support to the project itself. But the rest of other investors, we are still in discussion with them.
Kazako further explained that the company has made significant strides in building strategic partnerships through its parent company Sovereign Metals it has entered into a 3-year strategic partnership with the International Finance Corporation, IFC, a member of the World Bank Group. Kazako said the partnership will support the company's quest for environmental and social impact assessment for Kasia Rutile Graphite project. He says the partnership is key to attract more investors to invest in the project.
IFC has got a highly reputable standards which are internationally recognized. So having a collaboration with IFC means a lot to us because one, it means our project is internationally recognized, and even the standards in terms of our implementation of the project itself would be so high that even the well-known investors, well-reputable investors in the mining industry will surely want to work with us because the fact that we are able to meet the IFC standards, then it means we are very good to go.
Recently, the Sofian Metals signed a memorandum of understanding with Traxys North America during the 2026 mining meeting in Cape Town. Sofian Metals says under the MOU, Traxys will work towards marketing an initial 40,000 tons of graphite per year from Kasia, with volumes expected to rise to 80,000 tons annually as production expands. Meanwhile, Kazako has disclosed that the definitive feasibility study for Kasia Rutile Graphite mining project is expected to be completed this month, and outcomes of the study will be made public as well. The project has mineral resources estimates of 17.9 million tons of rutile and 24.4 million tons of graphite. Austin Fukura, MBC News, Lilongwe.
And that's it from our newsroom this morning. A recap of our top stories before we leave. Government reiterates commitment towards improving human resource management in both public and private sectors. Parliament assures to help Malawi Broadcasting Corporation achieve its goals and ambitions. And investors begin to commit their capital into the Kasia Rutile and Graphite mining project in Lilongwe. For more updates, visit MBC Digital on Facebook, X and Instagram. You've been with me, Evelis Chingambe. Thank you for watching and good morning.
Good morning, and it's time for weather forecast. We are currently still expecting mostly cloudy conditions over the country, accompanied by isolated thunderstorms and rain.